The Children's Medical Research Institute is an independent, not-for-profit organisation committed to unlocking the mysteries of disease. It has a simple but powerful philosophy that major advances in prevention and treatment of diseases come from research into the fundamental processes of life. Back in the 1950s, a new field of medicine was emerging called paediatrics. This focuses on the medical study of children and childhood illness. At this time, doctors at the Royal Alexandra Hospital for Children in Sydney were carrying out their own paediatric research, but only in their spare time and with limited resources. It was recognised that research facilities at the hospital were inadequate compared with similar paediatric organisations in the Northern Hemisphere. Sir Lorimer Dodds, founder of the Children's Medical Research Foundation, believed that progress in Australian paediatrics could only be achieved with full-time research staff and appropriate funding.
I had a handful of young men doing part-time research, each of them enthusiastic, and each of them in the end finding that his practice was dominating his research time. And it was then that I realised that we must have full-time research.
In 1958, a capital appeal was launched to raise funds for the Children's Medical Research Foundation, later renamed the Children's Medical Research Institute. This was the first full-time paediatric research organisation in Australia. A series of telethons, fundraising committees and corporate support provided the money to convert an old cottage in the grounds of the Royal Alexandra Hospital for Children into research laboratories. In 1959, the building alterations were completed and the first full-time researcher was employed. The earliest research at the Children's Medical Research Institute included studies into rubella, blood clotting, premature babies and congenital malformations. In 1941, a rubella epidemic had swept through Sydney and many pregnant women became infected with the virus. The children of these women were born with congenital rubella, a disease with serious side effects including deafness, heart and brain defects and blindness. The Institute became involved in world-leading research into congenital rubella. It was the first to discover that the rubella virus stayed in the lens of the eyes after birth, causing cataracts or clouding of the lens in newborn babies. Children born during the 1941 epidemic were monitored for several decades by the Institute's scientists. Their further studies revealed that congenital rubella also increases a person's chances of developing diabetes as an adult. The serious effects and national cost of congenital rubella prompted the development of a vaccine against the virus. The Children's Medical Research Institute was instrumental in establishing and designing vaccination programs in New South Wales that would protect the next generation. Rubella vaccination remains a part of the national vaccine schedule, and today, girls are vaccinated by the age of 4. Every year in Australia, some 22,000 babies are born prematurely. 50 years ago, premature birth resulted in a very poor chance of survival, especially because of breathing difficulties. In 1961, the Children's Medical Research Institute established Australia's first research unit for newborn babies to improve their survival rate. Its research determined the exact amount of oxygen to be supplied to premature babies sufficient to prevent brain damage, but not so much as to cause blindness. In 1958, 1 out of every 50 children born did not survive. And today, the survival rate for newborn babies is over 4 times higher. This boy is one of 2 babies born each month in Australia with a life-threatening obstruction of the bowel caused by a narrowing or absence of the small intestine. In 1977, the Children's Medical Research Institute developed techniques to repair obstructions of the bowel. This boy's life was saved by surgery developed by the Institute. Every hour in Australia, a baby is born with some form of chronic disease or congenital abnormality. To understand birth defects, scientists at the Institute are studying the intricate plan that directs where cells go in the embryo to form specialised tissues and organs. This is called fate mapping, and scientists at the Children's Medical Research Institute are at the forefront of this area of study. Already, it has helped to identify a gene causing cleft lip and palate and is currently investigating the genes involved in Rett syndrome. 1 in 10,000 females is born with Rett syndrome, the most common form of mental disability in females after Down syndrome. Sufferers typically have normal development until the age of about 12 months, when they lose any speech or motor skills they've acquired and begin to wring their hands, a typical characteristic of Rett syndrome. The Children's Medical Research Institute is also leading research into dynamin, a protein that works in partnership with other molecules to control the rate of brain cell communication. Conditions such as epilepsy are caused by changes in the rate of brain cell communication. 1 million Australians are affected by epilepsy, and a third of these people do not respond well to current treatments. By studying the role and action of dynamin, the Institute is working towards designing a new treatment for epilepsy. This research may also provide insights into schizophrenia, depression and other conditions of the brain. In Australia, there is more than 1 new case of childhood cancer or leukaemia diagnosed every day, and cancer is the most common cause of death in adults. The cancer survival rate is improving steadily as scientists learn more about cancer and more people are diagnosed and treated earlier. There are 2 known mechanisms that allow the unlimited growth of cancer cells. One of these mechanisms, called alternative lengthening of telomeres or ALT, was discovered by the Children's Medical Research Institute in 1995. The other mechanism is an enzyme called telomerase. In 2007, the Institute discovered the molecular components of the active telomerase enzyme. This significant breakthrough will boost the search for better and more targeted cancer treatments that may be more effective and cause fewer side effects. The Children's Medical Research Institute's 50 years of ongoing successes are the direct result of the Australian public's support. Research conducted 50 years ago at the Institute and by scientists around the world has made dramatic improvements to the lives of children today. Many infections that were life-threatening then are now easily preventable, and there have been major advances in the treatment of many diseases. The benefits of research have been priceless. We have every reason to be confident that the pioneering work of the scientists working at the Institute today will have similar benefits to the health of our children's children.